Invest in your tomorrow.
Studio. Okay, Lagos, Nigeria world. Here we are with Freshly Pressed at 7:30 or just gone past at any rate on Smooth Breakfast. I'm Shokba Martins.
And I'm Victor Pepple.
And joining us for the next half hour, we have got for Tuesday morning Justin AJ. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
And Lakunle, good morning to you.
Good morning, Shopway. Good
Yes,
morning, people. Good morning, Justin.
Welcome,
it's
gentlemen.
refreshing to have your voice and face in for a Tuesday morning.
Feels
And
strange to be here.
yes, right? And we've got you too. You can join us whatever platform you want to join us on. We're up on YouTube on the live stream.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. You can leave your comments there. You can also leave comments tagging us at smooth 981 FM on Twitter. And also send WhatsApp messages in 20809 4440981. So let's get things started. From the Punch newspaper, Police Commission promotes ex-EFCC boss Magu to AIG. Yes, the suspended acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, promoted to the level of Assistant Inspector General of Police. We heard from the Police Service Commission spokesperson Ikechukwu Ani, who announced this yesterday, Monday. So, luckily, considering the fact that, we saw from the suspension in July 2020, it looked like things had not been, things were up and down for Magu, but it looks like they're on the up and up. What's your take on this?
Okay, so let me first congratulate all the policemen and women that were promoted from this report. I'm assuming that it's reward for good work and consistency on the job. I also congratulate the Police Service Commission for doing this at this time. Having said that, now the crux of the matter for me, I think that we're somehow rewarding. I need to be very careful with the word I use. I think we're rewarding bad character with excellence. That's what I think we have done. When you look at it from the perspective of the circumstances under which Magu left office as EFCC chairman, all the controversies around it, and there's so many to name. If we start listing them, we may not live here today. Okay, so even the suspension, there was no official closure to that suspension, whether he's been removed, whether he was sacked, whether he's been transferred. It was just a suspension, like you said, since 2020, I think, to date. And then here we are today. News, he's been promoted. On what basis is that promotion? Is it
I mean,
on
well, considering the
excellence of
fact
the job, or what exactly? Or is
now,
it that because
luckily,
let me just land it there.
considering the fact that last year, July 2021, we heard from Ikechukwu once again, who said that they didn't promote him because they were pending clearance from the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. It looks like things have changed on
That's
that
that's
ground.
exactly what I'm saying. That the fact that there were allegations of of that magnitude against you at that level, it's enough reason not to get this promotion. I remember when we were in university, my dean of faculty, Professor Adeni, used to say to us when we misbehave that you only get this certificate if you have been found worthy in learning and character. He always stresses that character at that time. So, on what basis should we be promoting people? Is it just because the person is due for promotion, or because the person has been good on the job, has done the right things, or has left an indelible mark, or has been incorruptible as a policeman? On what basis are we promoting people? Is it just because now he's 60? I'm assuming that 60 is the retirement age. Yes, I think so. He's 60 a few days ago. Today is 17th. Is I think he's May 5th or May 6th, 1962. That's when he was born. So I'm assuming that this is a reward for for to say, okay, go into retirement with a higher rank. I think that's what's being done. And like I said at the beginning, we're not rewarding excellence at all in this country. This is an example of it. On the basis of the allegations against him, enough was for him to have been either fired or be forced to resign and lose his commission at that time. And we pondered on it for 3 years, for 2 years before he was suspended, and another 2 years before we now arrived at this. But like I said, congratulations to him as well. He can go home now if he's retired and he's fine. Then we'll move on to the next
What's
one.
that thing that lawyers say, luckily, you cannot approve it and reprove it? It's only you are the one saying the thing is there's something tacky with the whole thing, and I agree. You cannot also be congratulating at the same time the same person that you're saying the process is tacky. And the point I'm making is this thing is really about how processes, right, have been abused where they exist. Laid down procedures have been abused. We can make an appeal to common sense, as in from the perspective of somebody's on suspension, based on the optics alone, appealing to common sense. Should you be promoting such a person? But that would just be an appeal to common sense. What are the laid down procedures that we have in place that govern such things? If a person is undergoing any sort of disciplinary procedure that is pending and a determination has not been made, should routine promotions and all of that apply, or should the person be eligible for consideration even? Shouldn't everything about the person's status in the organization be pending when such situations are in play? But this is our anyhowness showing up again.
We kind of forget that this is history repeating itself. Lamode's case as well, there was controversy. Now he left the EFCC as chairman and was promoted to DIG, and Nigerians complained about it. Like you said, it's more like a system before you leave the office in retirement. But if you go through our history and look at it, former EFCC chairman as well, Lamode at some point was to be made DIG, or he was even made DIG and given a portfolio as well in this same country. But going forward, like you said, he will be retiring. Are we still going to see him stay in that capacity or not? But let's take the conversation further. If you're really confused or surprised that the former EFCC chairman will be promoted to AIG position, then let's look at the story from the Vanguard newspaper. EFCC detains Nigeria's accountant general over alleged 80 billion naira fraud. Now, the accountant general of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, on Monday was arrested and detained over claims to have laundered 80 billion naira through France. According to the EFCC, who put out the statements through her spokesperson, Wilson Wajarin, it said the AGF had raked off funds through bogus consultancies and other illegal activities using proxies, family members, and close associates. Justin, when you saw this story, what crossed your mind? And just help us make understanding of this.
You see, there's a common theme to all this negative story that we keep reading when it comes to our public sector. Continuing from what I was saying in the previous story, it's about the abuse of processes where they exist. Let's remember that the predecessor to this guy, who has just been arrested for 80 billion, allegedly defrauding the country of 80 billion naira, his predecessor was removed from office for a 2.5 billion naira allegation as well of embezzlement. This guy replaced him, and over the past 7 years has managed to steal 80 billion allegedly. The common denominator here is the office, the processes in that institution. How is it that we are always talking about an individual was appointed to office and he stole money? I don't understand. Did he have custody of the checkbook, the vouchers, whatever the financial, whatever the process, right? That institution where someone can gain access to money does not reside with this person alone. There is a whole chain of people. There are permanent secretaries in ministries, that in MDS, a whole civil service structure that is supposed to ensure command and control, right? Checks and balances are in place. Let's stop talking about the individuals who have stolen money. Let's talk about the processes that are allowing these things to become a recurring decimal. Right? Every time we hear ridiculous amounts of money have been stolen, now I'm asking myself, did this man walk into the bank with a gun and tell them, I'm the head of this agency, give me this money? There are a whole gamut of things that would have gone wrong. We are not addressing those structural issues. We will simply be reacting to somebody. Yeah, they've arrested him. Somebody's going to run that institution, right? There will not be a vacuum in leadership there. They'll put someone there. The same porous processes, the same anyhowness will allow that person maybe triple the amount that person is going to steal, because obviously this thing is growing in geometric progression.
Now, is this not an embarrassment and a shame to Nigeria, in the Committee of Nations, that the Accountant General of the Federation will be indicted in this manner to the tune of 80 billion naira, and he's been taken in by the country's anti-graft agency.
People, I wouldn't put it that way. I wouldn't say it's an embarrassment to Nigeria particularly. This is what human beings do when systems break down. It happens everywhere in the world, right? The places that we like to call sinner crimes, I don't know what that means. But my point here is, as bad as it is, as grievous as it is, I am not singling out Nigeria. I'm not going to say it's a Nigerian thing. No, it's not a Nigerian thing. Humans will abuse loopholes where they
After all,
exist.
corruption is an English word, and it wouldn't exist if they themselves are not. So it's just that it is what it is with us. Abacha was head of state how many years ago, and we're still getting refunds of the money stole. That's supposed to be some kind of lesson, the moral lesson in this for everyone involved. But yet, you keep asking yourself, what exactly is wrong with us as a people?
All right, so we should just jump into WhatsApp now and take some of your messages. That were from Anima Shao sends a message. Says the simple truth of the matter about Magu's promotion is that you have to reach a certain level in the public service before you're automatically entitled to life pension benefits and gratuities.
Randall says, I mean, even in private organizations, if you're under any kind of investigation, you're not eligible for any benefits until your name is cleared. But this is Nigeria. What do I know?
D from Alausa says, good points from Justin. You cannot probate and reprobate.
All right, taking a look at this next article coming in from the Guardian newspaper. Deborah, Northern governors condemn killing, call for calm. Now, Justin, I'd really love to get your thoughts on this because it took a while to come, but we heard from the Northern Governors Forum condemning the killing of Deborah Samuel Yakubu, a student at Shehu Shagari College of Education in Sokoto State, on allegations of blasphemy, which we then saw the state degenerating. Curfews had to be called and all whatnot. The relative calm seems to have returned. Your take?
It seems that I'm going to have the same narrative for every story today. Again, I am not as interested in what the Northern Governors Forum is saying, statements that they are putting out, as I am interested in how the issue itself is being addressed. What do I mean? A young woman was murdered, allegedly for blasphemy. Even if I were to agree, for the sake of argument, that it is okay for us to kill people, if it's okay for the government to take life. I'm one of those people that don't believe in capital punishment, right? I believe the government shouldn't take life. But even if we agree that there are places or there are instances supported by our laws as a country where government should take life for a crime committed, in this case, Sharia law is in place. Even if I were to subscribe to that viewpoint, the penal code is in place in the north. Those are the body of laws that govern our country. We've agreed to have two different systems of laws. So Deborah allegedly committed blasphemy against the Prophet. Was it the place of a mob to kill her? No. They should have charged her according to whatever the processes of the law are. But a mob happened. 2 people have been arrested. A riot started protesting against the arrest of those 2 people. What is the responsibility of the governor and the government? Charge the people to court. Now, we found out yesterday that what the people were actually, these 2 people who were arrested for this murder, what they were charged to court for by the state was inciting public disturbance and conspiracy to disturb the peace, something of that nature. They did not charge them for murder. Now, my question is, in a case like this, who is prosecuting? Is it the police force or is it the state attorney general? In either way, it is the executive branch in that state. That's question 1. Question 2, should there be a federal offense? In other words, should the attorney general of the federation be the one prosecuting? Whoever is prosecuting, whether it is the state attorney general using the instrumentality of the police, Department of Public Prosecution, or the federal attorney general, the point is you charge people to a magistrate court after arresting them for being complicit in murder. You charge them for something entirely different, something that is a bailable offense, something that they will be out of detention by today. And you say you are putting out statements condoling, condemning, absolute nonsense.
Well, let's face it, Justin. in times like this, people look to those in seats of governance to put out words, be it of condolence, be it of condemnation, either way, to have some sort of stance against this. For example, we saw when Atiku put out a statement that was then recanted, and some saying that, well, that's because he was threatened, and so he felt under pressure and removed his
You know
condemnation.
what I call it? Fiddling while Rome burns.
Well, you've heard his opinion. What's yours? Send us your messages. We see them coming in on WhatsApp, quite a number of them. But we're going to take this break. When we get back, we'll read your messages.
Nigeria.
Chinese people conspiracy to disturb the peace. They're out today. Today they'll build it.
My wife.
Oh, 34 lawyers had gone to release them.
No matter how the offense you commit,
You see,
you are.
I would love to see the charge sheet.
34 lawyers.
It doesn't matter the number. No matter what you did, OJ Simpson, we all knew from all the evidences that were.
How did Accountant General that his business is received still up to 80 billion?
Do you know the budget of the Accountant General's office?
It doesn't matter what the budget.
No, I'm just saying. No, I'm saying he's asking how because he has access to the money.
He doesn't really control funds like that.
It's our culture of whatever.
Victor, he has access to the budget of that
Paper,
office.
his own is paperwork.
That is the work. But the office
All right,
has a
guys, we're
budget
coming
to
back in
spend.
5.
Paperwork, 80 billion.
Studio.
my wife. Love music, love life.
Okay, here we are back with your messages going over to WhatsApp on 0809 444 981. This one coming in from DG at Allen Avenue. He says, why wouldn't an AGF steal over 80 billion? Others who stole far more and were convicted and then pardoned by the government of the day. I really can't wait for a change of administration that can turn this around for good, because the loopholes in all our accounting processes, that's just quite alarming.
All right, and Joseph May sent a message. He says, it's obvious the government system has conduit pipes, which the civil servants are number one culprits. How can someone who ought to have retired since 2020 yet remained in office to continue siphoning commonwealth of the people? EFCC is just playing to the gallery. Previous offense, nothing happened. God help us. That's Joseph from Ejibo here in Lagos.
Whilst Ken says 80 billion naira, do you know how many APC presidential nomination forms that could have fetched? Nigeria is just a crime scene. Wow, where whole country is a crime scene. All right, Ken, thank you so much for your message.
Still on Ken, it says on Magu, we have moved from no punishment for bad behavior to reward for bad behavior. But let's move the conversation to the Punch newspaper this morning, where tax waivers account for huge revenue loss, says federal government. Luckily. Now, despite its efforts to leverage on the benefits of tax exemptions and concessions, the incentive has rather led to huge revenue loss to the country. That's what the federal government is saying. I know that big companies sometimes are given tax waivers because they employ their private sector, they support government, with creating jobs. And so sometimes they are allowed to use some of their returns for CSRs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but then small businesses are the ones who bear the burden of constantly paying some of these taxes, and the everyday Nigerian. Now we're hearing that, the government is saying we've lost a lot of monies that would have gotten as revenue to some of these big boys or big companies in terms of waivers. What can be done? We have this particular administration has less than a year in office.
Okay, so for me,
after 7 years, we now realize that
for me, I do not think that the correlation with what you didn't get as tax and waivers are the same thing. I think that it's either of two things. People do waivers for reasons you have said. For example, particularly for this government, they've hammered on giving waivers to attract foreign direct investments. That's why we've had the office of something, ease of doing business, that is supervised by the vice president, and so on and so forth. Some of the things that they put there are these waivers. Okay, so we're going to have to choose one. If you want to have the money, the huge sums, don't give waivers to anybody. Everybody pays all the applicable taxes. If you want to have those investments coming, give the waivers. and count. Okay, so count it, the waivers you are giving as benefits of those investments, because you are going to gain it. We are going to gain it in other places, employment, infrastructure, blah 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 down the line. Now, where the real issue is for me, according to this, as far as this report is concerned, is this: we just talked about one individual making away with 80 billion naira. What are we doing in blocking all these leakages, all these holes where all these monies, the little monies that we are, what would we do? What are we doing in blocking them? How responsible are we with the ones that are not stolen? How effective do we make use of the ones that we have spent to build infrastructure? For example, we have built a rail line from Lagos to Ibadan. Since it became operational, when has Nigerian Railway Corporation come to say, in so period, this is how much we have made, this is our running cost, blah 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 blah? You get what I mean? How much are people in government earning? How much of them are they wasting? So see, for me, Nigeria as a country is not so difficult to govern. The things that we need are not so much out of this world. I mean, everybody just wants to be able to go home and sleep and not worry about a lot of things. Just let me land.
Okay.
So when you look at it from that perspective, you are asking yourself, so the minister is comparing us with Ghana in terms of excise duty. What is Ghana doing that the excise duty is higher than ours?
Luckily, this administration says our revenue is low, and so we keep increasing almost everything to generate revenue. It started not started, but we saw increase in VAT from 5% to 7.5 to generate revenue. Yet we saw an arm that should have raked in a lot of funds for this administration, being these big companies that they gave tax waivers to. Just a moment, Lakunle. Now, these big companies were not paying taxes, quote unquote, but rather used it to repair roads leading up to their organizations or companies, as it were. But we know that primary duty with regards to tax is that of government to use the taxes to fix those roads, build infrastructure. They left it to these companies. Now we're complaining that there's loss of revenue because these big companies that were supposed to return taxes in billions were not returning, and we're going after startups. And there are reports that startups in Nigeria, most of them do not last beyond 2 years.
We are saying the same thing. I've said we take either of two options. Don't give waivers at all. So all the monies go to the government, then we report big money. Or give the waiver and let, for example, Apapa to Bagada Expressway. It's one organization in this country that's taking the responsibility of fixing that road. And it's supposed to get a tax waiver for fixing that road. All it needs to do is present receipts of how much it's costing to do that road. There is the Ota Idiroko road that's been given to another, and so on and so forth. So government, that's what I said, government cannot complain that they don't have money. The ones that they have, what are we doing with them? We have compared ourselves, excise duty with Ghana. What is the custom and excise of Ghana doing that theirs is higher than our own? It means inefficiencies in our ports. That's why some goods meant for Nigeria end up in Benin Republic, and then we use the bush parts to bring them in. So those are the things we are talking about. Sometimes it's not about the money in the bank. It is about what you do with what you have. Like I've given an example. The Nigerian Railway Corporation, beautiful train and all that. But what is the cost to us today? What have we gained from it in terms of Naira and Kobo?
Very quickly, let's take a look at this article. In from the Punch newspaper, federal government extends money laundering law to casinos and others, bans shell accounts. Now, we saw the president on Thursday assenting to the money laundering prevention and prohibition bill of 2022, the terrorism bill, and the proceeds of crime bill, all on Thursday. And very quickly, your thoughts.
It's interesting. I'm going to actually go look for the main body of the document, because there's an interesting part of it where it reads, the excerpt from the article says, the opening or it prohibits the maintaining or opening of numbered or anonymous accounts by a person, financial institution or body corporate is prohibited. The person shall not establish or operate a shell bank in Nigeria. The financial institution shall not enter into or continue corresponding banking relationship with shell banks and all of that. I would like to see how this correlates with the PSB banks, the digital banking ecosystem, right? Might be inadvertently affected by some things that I said here, because people think about the guys who are operating digital wallet accounts and all that. They link back to they use tokenization technology, right? Which, reading this on the surface, tokenization can be said to not be allowed, right? Just reading this. So that's the angle that I was looking at this from. But it's always a good thing for us to tighten AML laws. But we are not a nation that is lacking in laws on paper.
We are not.
Yes, we're not.
We actually
lacking
have
at
quite
all.
robust laws.
Very, very regulated space we are in this country. But it's, what's that thing English people say? Between the lips and the cup, there's nary a twister. I've forgotten my whatever. But,
Well, still sticking with you, Justin. In from the Guardian newspaper, President Buhari and AGF Malami head to Supreme Court over controversial Section 8412. In fact, it looks like the last has not been heard of this particular section of the Electoral Act Amendment 2022. Recall that the president assented to it, and then we've seen a lot of amendments, and particularly Section 8412. Everybody has interpretations to it. The president and the AGF has gone to Supreme Court to even seek interpretation of this, Justin.
the things that make you go, So, my people, this is what is happening in Bollywood. Mr. President signed the Electoral Act, and there was a section in it that says that if you are a government, if you are an appointee, a political appointee, and you want to run for elective office, you need to resign. That is Section 84, Abi.
Mhm.
That's just it. Mr. President is not comfortable with that clause for some reason that we don't know yet. After he signed it, he turned around and said, did I sign that? Oh my God. Called the National Assembly. Gentlemen, please, that thing I signed, want to delete one clause. They said, no, you signed it. It is now the law. Thank you very much. The AGF, who wanted to run up until a few days ago, was interested in running for governor of Kebbi State, filed a lawsuit, or somebody filed a lawsuit anyway in Imo State or somewhere, just to recap this whole thing, and challenging that clause that it should be removed. The court ruled. Someone took it to the appeal court. The appeal court struck it out. So they've been going back and forth on it. Now, the president and the AGF have gone to the Supreme Court to ask the Supreme Court that they should delete that clause. But here's the twist. The National Assembly bounced out with their full chest. Let me just read what they say though. Their lawyer is Kayode Ajulo. This is the statement from Kayode Ajulo, the lawyer to the National Assembly, in response to the suit filed by Mr. President and his AGF. My lords, we must end the audacious attempt by the plaintiffs to build a castle in the air. However, we must be guided by our knowledge of the law of physics and the dynamics of our mortal world in calling the plaintiffs to order so as to prevent the impending waste of state resources by embarking on what would ordinarily be found within the infantile imagination of a 6-year-old who is still exploring the infant probabilities of overindulgence in Marvel comics. The next thing is that Marvel Avengers will show up in Nigeria. But we're here. My popcorn is out and I'm watching.
Well, you can take that popcorn with you into social media. You can find him at justin.aj on Twitter, and Laconley is at Laconley70. If you have any problems finding them, just go to us. We are at Smooth981 FM. Find them in our feed because we tweeted about Freshly Pressed. Thank you, gentlemen. It's interesting one today. Coming up, 8:15, it is going to be the great
ARM. Invest in your tomorrow.
Very nice. We did that Loma story.
Interesting.
I want to read about Loma and the way
The next thing we'll just hear music in Nigerian skies. Dun, dun, dun.